Hello there, I'm Joran Barre from the Activiti team, and in this movie I'm going to show you the latest addition to the Activiti BPM platform, Activiti KickStart. Now, if you want to know more about KickStart, just read the blog that I've posted together with this movie and you will know all about it. Okay, let's get started. So what you can see here on the screen is actually the result of running the Activiti demo setup. So we have Activiti Explorer for task management, we have Activiti Probe for your system administration, we have the Activiti Modeler for modeling your BPMN2 process in the browser. We have Activiti Cycle for BPM collaboration. And since this release, we have Activiti Kickstart, of course. Now, the example we're going to use in this movie is very simple. We're going to create an expense process. So we're going to create a process that people in a company can use to request a refund for an expense they made for the company. So let's call this process the expense example process. We can give the description, and we can now write, for example, this is a process created using KickStart. And the process is very simple. We're going to have two tasks. The first task is being the request of the expense refund, and the second task is going to be the handling by a manager. So the first task is request expense refund. And for this demo, we're going to assign it to Kermit. This makes things a bit easier for me, so I don't have to switch screens. So we're going to add a description. Request a refund for a past expense. You can also attach a form with it, and this form will then be displayed in Activiti Explorer when you run the process. So let's give it the title. Request refund. You can add a description. For example, now you can say, please fill in following fields. And the first thing that's obviously very important when you want the refund is your name, because you want, of course, the money to be reimbursed on your account. This is a required property. I'm going to add two extra properties. The second one being the amount of money involved with the expense. That's a number. It's also required. And the employees can then have an optional motivation which is not required. Let's save it. Let's take a look at the image, how it looks now. This is a very simple BPMN 2.0 process. So you can see it has a start event, a user task, and end event. Nothing very spectacular going on here. Let's create a second task. That one is handle expense request. And we're going to assign it to the management group. So any manager in the management group can actually now take this task and handle it. So you might remember for when we edited the form, you can see that we here have the name property. We can now use this property and reference it by writing $ and then curly braces name has requested a refund. So at runtime, the name will be resolved. I will show you later in the demo. I'm also going to create a form for it. I'm going to have the title handle expense refund request. We can now going to add a description. We can now also use again the name has requested a refund of, and then we can use the amount which the employee has filled in, $. Okay, so we can now add the property ask the manager if he agrees. This is a required property. Let's save it. Okay, let's take a look at the image now. You can see, as you would expect it, we have two sequential user tasks when the process starts. Okay, that's good for a first try. Let's save it to the database. Okay, it's now deployed. Let's go to Explorer, and you will see we have now the expense example process. It looks exactly as how we modeled it. And let's start it. Now, since I'm logged in as Kermit, you will see if I now go to my task list, I will now have a task assigned to me. This is the reason why for this demo I chose to assign it to Kermit. So we have a request. We can now start a request for the refund. Click on it. My name is Kermit the Frog. So you can see that this form is exactly the same form as the one that I've defined in KickStart. You can see here I can't continue with the form because the amount is a required property. You can also see it's a number, so I can't write text here. You really have to have a number. So let's say, for example, that Kermit the Frog has made a $100 expense. He doesn't give a motivation. Click OK. And Kermit is also part of the management group, so you can see there is now a new management task after completing the task. So you can see here Kermit the Frog. You see this is made a typo there, fork. You can see that the name property was resolved at runtime. I claim it. No other manager can now do this task. So let's complete the form. You can see here that Kermit the Frog has requested a refund of $100. Do you agree? Oh yes. Why not? Kermit is a good employee. Okay, so this is the process. Very simple. But KickStart is, of course, all about ad hoc changing things on the fly. So let's change it. So let's go to KickStart. enhance the workflow. You can see we have now the first version here, as we expected. Also, a very important feature of KickStart is that it generates, the process that it generated is a fully BPMN2 compliant process. So if you take a look at the XML, this is completely BPMN2 file format standardized. So any BPMN2 compliant editor can import this and can work with this. Okay, so let's edit it. There we go. Presume now that we have an accountancy group. So let's add a second task. And besides the managers, also the accountants must give their, must handle the requests. So let's just call it for this demo, handle expense requests 2. And now we can assign it to the accountancy group. And I'm going to add a description. Now, if you take a look at the image, you can see it's now sequential, but this is not the way we like it. So let's now say start this task with the previous task. And if you now take a look at the image, you can see that after we file the request, there are now 2 tasks open, one for the manager, one for the accountants. Okay, let's save it to the activity repository. Let's open up Explorer. We now have a second version there, the second version which is our parallel version. And let's start the process. You can now see it's the same form as in the beginning, so we are going to fill it in quickly. Here we go, and you can now see, since Screencast is also part of the accountancy group, there is a new task in management, the one we expected, and there is a new task in accountancy, the second task we made. So you can understand that Activiti KickStart is really a powerful tool to ad hoc create your processes and also ad hoc edit them on the fly as you are working. Okay, so this was all that I wanted to show you for today. Of course, this is only the beginning. We have many, many more ideas in our heads. Think about email notifications, document integration, and way other cool stuff. I thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you.